this past Sunday, I mentioned a statistic that I thought was pretty striking. It said this: the global pandemic has deepened an epidemic of loneliness in America. A new report suggests that 36% of all Americans, including 61% of young adults and 51% of mothers with young children, feel serious loneliness. This is probably something we've talked about here before as we've gone into this pandemic. We realize that loneliness is increasing. But here's the stat that really surprised me. This lady writes, she spoke to expert who determined how many friends a person needs in order to stave off loneliness. And the post details for this is in the, the web link for this is in the post details. You can look it up. It's an article from the New York Times. But then there's a little parenthetical statement that she puts about that says, a 2010 analysis found that loneliness is as harmful to physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which I found to be very striking. So as we've talked about this, probably we haven't given enough attention. On Sunday, I was talking about widows and the church's responsibility to care for those in genuine situations of need. You can always watch those on our Facebook and YouTube pages. But that's not the topic for the day, but I'm going to come back to an idea of loneliness. Good morning. Pastor Jeff Elliott, New Horizons Fellowship. As always, you are welcome to like, comment, share, or come and visit us on Sundays at 10:15. I'm kind of ready to give up on the Stuck on You challenge because not many of you, at least not any that I have seen, have started, and I've taken a couple weeks off. So anyway, still waiting for that to make the rounds, but I know you're here for the jokes. So let's get you started today. A consumer warning to start the morning. Don't buy anything with Velcro. It's a total ripoff. And joke number 2, I think I've told this one before, but it's still one of my favorites. Why is it so hard to tell a joke about retired people? Because none of them work. Yeah, there's for all you retired people who are watching this. And then finally, did you hear the joke about the roof? Never mind, it's over your head. See, this is just classic stuff, and I know this is why you guys all tune in. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about this idea of loneliness. And why did I start with those quotes about it? Because there are, and I know I've talked about this, there are many, many sources telling us that the pandemic has increased the sense of loneliness that people are experiencing. It's also very clear that there are mental health and physical issues related to that increase. And a verse that I used on Sunday, I'm going to come back to today because it continues on. This is in Psalm chapter 68, verse 5 and 6. Describing God, it says he's a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows. This is God whose dwelling is holy. And then verse 6 says, God places the lonely in families. Now, you may be trying to apply that to your personal situation and thinking, well, that may or may not be true. But let me talk briefly to those of you who somehow during the pandemic gave up going to church. And I realize I'm a pastor telling you this. But maybe you only watch the videos and the streaming. And sometimes there are totally legitimate reasons for that. There's health reasons, people can't get out or whatever. But the church, as in being together, is meant to help with this loneliness problem. I've talked with a number of pastors, and we are all concerned about the effect that streaming church services may have. And we said it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the best thing. Every pastor I've talked to is in agreement that streaming was a necessary tool for a while, but that it is not an exclusively viable replacement for being a part of a local church congregation. Now, there may be the rare instance that some churches are still closed in the pandemic, but as far as I know, most of them have been open for a while now. So your next complaint would be, well, I have not been able to find the perfect church. Well, as a pastor, let me say you won't, because there isn't one. No church is perfect, including mine, believe it or not. But God has intended that you be a part of his family through fellowship with the local church. Maybe during the pandemic you got out of the habit of going to church. It's easy to do, isn't it? Maybe you just got comfortable watching at home. Maybe you just now have a comfortable routine now with your cup of coffee, your newspaper, your social media feed, whatever it may be, and going to church has just kind of slipped down the list of priorities. And I got to tell you that even if you are streaming and watching the whole service online, you are, especially here, because we don't put all of that stuff, we don't stream all of that or record all of that. But if you're just doing that and you're not in the building, you're missing an important aspect of community and fellowship and worship. Now, this is not to exclude those who for health reasons can't get to a church or whatever, hopefully you can find a pastor or someone to come and minister to you, or you have family or whatever it may be. But when you're in a church building, you are engaged. You cannot be a passive watcher. It's the difference about watching a horror movie and being in a horror movie, right? Maybe that's a terrible alliteration for church going. But it's one thing to watch a murder slasher movie. It's another thing if that's actually happening to you. You're not passive in that anymore. But I want to use that horrible illustration to share that part of church worship is the sacrifice of showing up, getting up and getting ready, and you're sacrificing the time to be there. That's part of you saying to God that He is important enough for you to make that sacrifice of your time and your energy on that Sunday morning. And so I believe Scripture says that God sees that as a sacrifice. Psalm chapter 50, verse 23, but giving thanks is a sacrifice that truly honors me. If you keep to my path, I will reveal to you the salvation of God. I believe that when God sees the effort that you are making to be in attendance with His people on a Sunday morning, He will honor that. So take this from a pastor, surprising I know, but I would say to you, if you just haven't got back into church, get back into church. And I know there have been a lot of negative stories lately, and I may address that in the future. But it is my bet that that wasn't your experience, and you cannot use someone else's experience of church to keep you from going. The church has got several black eyes right now, but that's because those are the ones you hear about. There are, for every church and pastor embroiled in a scandal, there are 100 churches that are good, healthy places for you to be and worship, filled with good people who love the Lord and love each other and want to be a blessing and encouragement to you. So I would love to hear your comments on this if you're willing to share them. You can send me a private message if you want as well. I'm not very good about getting the ones at New Horizons Fellowship. I haven't quite figured that out, but if you want to send them to me personally, that's fine. If we're Facebook friends, or there's another way, you can always email me, Pastor Jeff at newhorizonsfellowship.net. But anyway, I'd love to hear your comments on that. And until then, I hope to see you soon, and may God bless your day, and we'll see you later.